All right, we're joined now by the Chairman, House of Reps Committee on Telecommunications, Honorable Saheed Akindde Fijabi. Thanks for joining us and good morning to you. Now, let's start this way. The Executive Vice Chairman of the NCC failed to show up at the committee hearing. Of course, the telecoms man and all the other people you invited to come answer to questions concerning this MTN fine. What do you think is playing out here? You know, their refusal or their failure to show up at the hearing?
Yeah, thank you. I think we just want to give them the benefit of doubt. And obviously, the EVC of NCC sent in a letter that is off to London for something, for a meeting on telecommunications. And the minister sent in his PAMSEC to come and represent him also. But obviously, what we think is we need to hear everything from the horse's mouth. So we want them to, that's why we send them a summon to appear before the committee on Monday by 10 o'clock.
Okay, what is your grouse really with this reduced fine?
Obviously, I want Nigerians to understand that nobody's trying to send MTN out of the market, or nobody's trying to send MTN out of Nigeria. But obviously, even when you sign into a law, there is a law that guides the way you obviously operate in a business, which MTN also signed into. And law is there to serve as a deterrent. And if you go against the law, definitely the law must go against you. And in the law, it states clearly in the section 19 and 20 of the law, the subsidiary law, says anybody that goes against the law must pay 200,000 naira each on each SIM, which MTN violated, and MTN SIM that they didn't unregister and deactivate is going up to like 5.2 million, which will make the fine come up to 1.04 trillion naira. And again, clearly in the section 20 of it, there is another fine of 200,000 naira each on each SIM, which make it to like 2.08 trillion. And section 22 states clearly that if the CEO or managing director or anybody heading the organization is found culpable of the offense, him also needs to pay 200,000. So obviously, and we are wondering that, is there anywhere in the law clearly, I stand to be corrected, if you see the law they sign into, there is no way in the law that says the fine can be reduced. So that is why we want them to come over and explain themselves and how they arrive at 70% of the fine being reduced to 70% and coming up to like 330 billion naira.
Okay, let's bring the facts here. 780 billion naira fine slammed on, of course, the MTN. But let's get the background now. In August 2015, the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, and securities agencies carried out a compliance audit on all of the mobile network operators in the country. The report of the audit revealed that 5.2 million MTN customer lines were improperly registered.
Yeah, we'll come back to our guests to ask you more questions, but this information is just for our viewers, so just hang on a bit, a little for us. So from an initial fine of 1.04 trillion naira, which was imposed on South African mobile phone firm MTN by the NCC, the telecommunication company is now billed to pay 330 billion naira, which has to be paid in 6 tranches within the next 3 years. That's about, with a whopping 67%. MTN will be paying just 33% of the initial value of the fine under terms of agreement, which also discounted the initial 50 billion naira earlier paid by the company to the government.
Now, MTN was fined for failing to deactivate the unregistered and improperly registered SIM cards on its network. But reprieve came after 8 months of engaging with the regulator. The fine was imposed amid fears that militants were using the phone lines. Under the terms of agreement, MTN Nigeria will now be listed on the Nigeria Stock Exchange, NSE, including the telecom giant, paying 30 billion naira into NCC's Treasury Single Account, that's a TSA, with the Central Bank of Nigeria. 30 days from the date of the agreement dated June 10, 2016.
Other payment dates include March the 31st, 2017. 30 billion is meant to be paid on that day. March the 31st, 2018, 55 billion naira. And December 31st, 2018, another 55 billion naira. But March 31st, 2019, another 55 billion naira. And the balance will be paid on May 31st, 2019. That's 55 billion naira.
Now, for a cursory look at the financial statement of MTN Nigeria showed that in 2015, the company recorded a profit after tax of 190 billion naira as at December the 31st, 2015. And with the new business model, analysts are of the opinion that MTN could recoup monies lost to fines within the shortest time possible. So let me ask you, Saheed Fijabi, now the issue of whether, the laws actually allow, a telephony company to pay less than the initial fine that, that was slammed on them. That is the issue on the one side. But what's your take? Are you saying then that the House of Reps does not agree with, the idea of MTN paying the so-called good faith deposit that's to the tune of 50 billion naira? Is that where you stand?
Let me take you on a memory lane. You shouldn't forget that when the fine was slammed on MTN ran to court. And when they're coming out of court, they said they will set it out of court. And their proposal was to pay 330 billion naira, which is not far cry from 300 billion they've agreed to pay. So who is actually setting the pace? Is it the federal government? Is it MTN? And another part of the agreement is they will be listed on the stock exchange market of Nigeria, which to me is, come to think about it, is obviously a business sense. It's a benefit to MTN. Because if they are going on the stock exchange, definitely they are going in to reap in more money from Nigeria. So it's their own, it's their own benefit. And I don't think it's benefiting Nigeria in any way. But as I'm saying, we've summoned the three, the Attorney General, we've the Minister of Communication, the EVC, and like 2 weeks ago, the Minister of Communication, during our sectorial debate, came onto the floor of the House and made it known that the Committee on Telecommunication, House Committee on Telecommunication, are the ones stalling the negotiation, and not until we bring up our report. The negotiation has been stalled. So to my surprise, or to many people's surprise, or to Nigerian surprise, all of a sudden on Friday morning, they just came up with the agreement, which obviously we start looking at why are they in a rush when the minister says they are waiting for the report of the committee to come out before they take another step. And as I've said, nobody's looking to drive MTN out of the market, because MTN is the employer of a lot of Nigerians, and nobody's looking to drive them out of the market. But there's a law to serve as a deterrent. And obviously, as you've said in your documentary now, that they've been won over time. And can you quantify life lost? And can you quantify a lot of ransom being paid by Nigerians, and which this perpetrator use MTN SIM card to use in making calls and perpetrating other evil acts?
A good thing you mentioned the federal government, because you remember when President Jacob Zuma came into Nigeria, this became much more than an economic issue to a diplomatic issue. So I don't think you should be surprised by this fallout. Perhaps you should also summon the president to come and answer some questions, if that's where you want to go. Do you think so?
Yeah, the Minister of Communication is the one representing the president. So if we can invite the Minister of Communication, I think we've done enough, and he should be able to come over and say whatever he knew or whatever comes up in the last few weeks by him saying that they are actually waiting for the House to come up with their report, and they are rushing into negotiation and rushing into coming into conclusion with with their negotiation with MTN. So nobody has, no, so far so good. On Monday, 3 of them, we believe they'll be appearing in front of the committee. And nobody's trying to wing chunt anybody in here. We're just trying to showcase that everything is done in a transparent manner. And everything, the negotiation is done in a good faith. So Nigeria can see the transparency in the negotiation.
All right, just hold on for us right there. Okay, let me just quickly throw this in. Nigerians, some experts have said that government's lack of firmness, is what has given the MTN the effrontery to actually go to court in the first place. Are you on the same page with, that thinking?
I think MTN believe if they have to run to court, everything will be solved. But when they went to court and they see that things can get messier, they ran back and said they will sit down around the table. And over time, since they came back from court, we've called all the parties together and see. And what we told them during our investigation was that if anything will be done, they should inform the House of Representatives, because we are the regulator of the regulator. We are the one oversighting NCC. We are the one oversighting Ministry of Communications, and everything they are doing must be within the law. So that is why we're actually calling every other person to sit down and see if what they've done is actually within the law of Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay, let's put you on hold there. Saheed Akindde.
Here is the update. The Niger Delta Avengers have issued what they call last warning to 7 state governors to free pro-Biafran activists being held in police and military custodies in their states. In a statement signed by the group's spokesperson, Modok Agbenibo, the new militant group that has vowed to bring Nigeria's oil production to zero, gave 72 hours to the governors to free Biafran agitators. Some of the governors threatened by the group are Okezie Bazo of Abia, Willie Obiano of Anambra, Sierra K. Dixon of Bayelsa, and Ifeanyi Kowa of Delta. Others are Davy Umahi of Ebonyi, Ifeanyi Uwanyi of Enugu, and Rochas Okorocha of Imo State. The statement further stated that in 48 hours, the group will release a video clip showing its arms and targeted areas, and that all strike teams are already in position awaiting command. The Movement for the Emancipation of the Niger Delta, that's MEND, has announced a 7-member team to dialogue with the federal government. The team is to be held or to be led by former Petroleum Minister Odena Jumogobia and would include economists Bismarck Rawani and former Senator Florence Itagiwa. MEN's spokesman Jomo Bombo says the team, which is called Aaron Team 2, will dialogue with the federal government on the immediate, medium and long-term future of the Niger Delta region. That statement was released online. Other members of the team are Ledo Miti, Timipa Okonipere, Losen Omokodion and Ebanga Isire. Now, Boko Haram fighters have threatened to attack Ngandu village. It's a village that borders Yobe and Borno states in Nigeria's northeast. The threat came via a written statement. Ngandu is about 22 kilometers from Damaturu, that's the Yobe state capital. Residents of the community are in perpetual fear of the unknown, and many are relocating already to safer places within the area. Security agencies there have beefed up tactics in case of any eventualities. Lagos State Governor Akindde Anbode has inaugurated 57 new sole administrators expected now to oversee the 20 local government areas and 37 local council development areas in the state, pending the conduct of the local government election in the state. This is in line with Governor Akindde Anbode's government's commitment to local government reform. Anbode charged the new sole administrators to see their appointment as a call to service and not as an opportunity to put themselves above others. The Independent National Electoral Commission has set plans in motion for a seamless electioneering process in 2019. The operations and logistics officers of the Commission converged on Lagos to strategize on how to ensure that logistics delivery is optimized for the effective conduct of the elections. The workshop which was convened by the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, underscored the importance of developing effective electoral and logistical strategies for the 2019 elections. Participants were asked to be holistic in addressing issues relating to recurring logistics shortfalls experienced in previous elections and how the challenges could be tackled. Well, that's the update now. Back to you, Busalami and Ngozi.
Thank you, IK.
Okay, we still have Saheed Akindde Fijabi, Chairman, Committee on Telecoms, speaking with us on the MTN fine brouhaha. Now, talking about this MTN fine that has been reduced, on the one hand, the NCC did say at a point that it was not aware of any 35% reduction. According to the MTN, it was 35, but NCC said it was 22. But all of that. Now, looking at this whole scenario, what kind of precedents? Do you have any concerns that we might be setting a dangerous precedent, you know, as many have expressed concerns about?
Yeah, I think it's very important then for us not to set a bad precedent, because this is a law, and what about the other players in the industry? If you believe that now we are reducing the fine from 25% down to like 65, 67, 70%, and so other players in the industry can just go on the same path by believing that, okay, if they go against the law, definitely they will find a way around the law and every fine could be reduced. Let me give you a very good example. The example of oil spillage in America that by BP, a multinational like MTN, the American government made sure the fine were paid into full. And you know, there is a law, and if you sign into a law in your industry, it's a must, you must follow it. I think everybody believes that 200,000 naira on each team is not a big money. Probably they won't go far against the law. Not until MTN went far against the law and they were asked to pay 1.4 trillion. So that is what we want to look at, or what we are trying to look into. Not to set a bad precedent for the Federation. So we want to see how, if every other, you know, at first, you know, there is a lot of issues concerning these fine. You could remember last March or February when the first reduction was done. It was said that was from NCC. They said there's a typographical error. Because the fine was on a day was reduced by 30%. The second morning they say it's 25%, and MTN came out that it was a typographical error. And you know, then now we are seeing MTN came up with their own proposal of paying 330 billion naira, 300 billion naira. But federal government in their own says they should pay 330, which is not far from what MTN says is going to pay. So we are looking we want to see the gray areas that we can correct. So as you've said, we don't want to set a bad precedent in the telecommunication industry.
Okay. Do you think you're weighing in too late in this matter? Do you think your committee should have been more up and doing from the start, from the get-go of this crisis?
Yeah, we've been proactive in this matter. You can remember vividly, I can remember vividly that the moment we wrote to MTN to apply the committee, they ran to court. And obviously, a case in a court is you need to be careful on how you treat it. So we allowed them to come. And immediately they're coming out of court, we asked them to appear. All the parties appeared in front. And since then, we are trying to mediate between, and we told the AGF that they should allow NCC and the Federal Ministry of Communication to take charge and take lead in any negotiation they are doing. And again, secondly, we've asked them to let us, as a house of the people, to let us know what is actually happening during the negotiation. And the minister stated clearly that there is no negotiation going on. And we said that one like 2 weeks ago. So what has changed between that time and last Friday? So definitely somebody must have been doing something behind the house and coming in front of the house during our sectorial debate. Even he said it in the chamber that there is no negotiation going on, that everything is being stalled because the committee are still investigating and they are awaiting the outcome of our investigation. So I don't see why rushing into conclusion without taking along all the arms of government in this negotiation, since we are the one oversighting both NCC and Ministry of Communication.
All right, let's bring in this very short footage in the heat of the controversy with the federal government. Let's listen to what the Minister of Communication said about this fine before the agreement was finally reached.
The Honorable Attorney General gave them 2 conditions. Number 1, that they should withdraw the case from court. Number 2, they should pay 50 billion as a mark of good faith, of seriousness about wanting out of court settlement. It was at that stage, of course they paid, and they also withdrew the case from court. It was at that stage that the National Assembly, particularly the House of Reps, instituted an investigation, perhaps because they felt that things were not, going the way they thought it should go. The investigations are still on. Negotiations have not yet commenced. That's very important. Negotiations have not yet commenced. And the 50 million naira which was paid may eventually form part of the payments. But it is not, the understanding is that it is a sign of an act of.
All right, Honorable Fijabi, you just heard the minister. Are you accusing the minister of speaking from both sides of his mouth as we're talking about this issue?
Thank you very much. I think you have to give me this clip so we can, or you have to play these clips over and over and over again, so Nigerians must see what the minister have said about it. Clearly stated that because the House wants to see what has happened, that the negotiation has been stopped. And at the moment, there is no negotiation. And you can see just last Friday, obviously, somebody must be saying something that is, we're on here. You can see what I mean when it's not even, the minister is not speaking from the both side of, both side of his mouth, but he's speaking from one straight side, saying the negotiation is not going on. But now, how would they arrive when there's no negotiation? So how would they arrive with 330 billion naira they asked MTN to pay?
And it is curious too.
The Honorable Minister is speaking for the executive.
It is very curious that in all of the meetings where the deal was reached with the MTN, the regulatory body itself, the NCC, says it was never part of any of the meetings. Is this an attempt to undermine the authority of the NCC, and what are the implications of this going forward?
No, I'm not so sure if they are not involved, but every other letter coming out is coming out from the letter-headed people of NCC, and is being signed by the EVC, Professor Dambata. So if they are saying they don't know anything about it, you can see, even if you go onto their page on internet, you could see that Professor Dambata and his other colleague in NCC were the one that signs the agreement, and that they were very happy with when the agreement were done in his office. So obviously that is why we summoned them to let them explain, to explain whatever they know about the process that leads to these final settlement they are proposing.
Okay, basically your fight is for the Nigerian people. I'd like to know what your committee is doing to protect the Nigerian consumer, telecommunication consumer, because there have been lots and lots of complaints. What are you doing? Is it the law that needs to be reviewed, expunged, or what?
Yeah, let me just start from this MTN fine. I think a lot of Nigerians are laying fears that even MTN is being fined. Maybe Nigerians will be the one paying for the fine. No, I just want Nigerians to put their mind to rest. That is why we're here as of the people, and we are the one oversighting the regulator. And NCC as a body, I believe they know what they are doing. And definitely nobody, MTN is being fined, and if they have to pay their fine, they must pay their fine without being affecting Nigerians. And other ones, there's a lot of complaints about Nigeria. Even me as the chairman of committee, also have been complaining to the I've been complaining to the telecom providers, and we've obviously called them. There's what we call the unsolicited text messages, the drop calls you have to pay for. Everybody's been affected, and over time we've called all the CEOs of these telecom operators, and they've appeared in front of us. And with NCC, we asked them to go back with the regulators, sit down and see how we can find a lasting solution to this problem of Nigeria. And also, we shouldn't forget that they too have their own problem. One of their problems is the power sector, who is giving them a lot of problem. The destruction of their infrastructures, which obviously we are trying to promulgate a law which can guide against all this soon. And the NCC Act is on the floor now, being amended, which is going to involve the unsolicited text messages and unwanted, the drop calls, and how Nigerians can be taken into consideration and they won't be affected with. Because when I'm paying for a service, I believe I must enjoy these services. And when you're not enjoying it, you are not happy about it. But I promise Nigerians that we will not leave any stone unturned.
Okay, I'm glad Nigerians. Nigerians will be glad to hear that.
We'll hold you up to that.
Indeed. And that all of this at the end of the day will be in the interest of Nigerians. Thank you so much, Saheed Akindde Fijabi, Chairman, Committee on Telecommunications at the House of Reps there. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.